So I just had kind of a shower thought. Um, and I was thinking, I saw the word reverent. Um, or, and I thought to myself about the thought process here was the ending song to Golden Loop in Deathloop is The Reverend. And that got me thinking about Deathloop again, because that game is something of a masterpiece. The mystery unfolds in a very natural way for a game. And I feel like it wouldn't have translated well to any other medium, but that's beside the point. The story unfolded in exactly the way it needed to for the medium it was made for. And I feel like it, despite being a thing that exists and can be easily accessed, it strikes me as ephemeral. In a way that you wouldn't normally think of a modern AAA title being momentary. A month or two ago, I got out my copy of the Orange Box and I put it in my Xbox Series X and I played Half-Life 2. I don't think it would be as easy for me to, in a decade or closer to 15 years, because I first played Half-Life 2 my first year of college, it will not be as easy for me in 15 years to go back and play Deathloop, because it doesn't exist in a physical format in its complete form. For one, it was released in, was it 2022 or 2023, whatever. It was released at a point in which the digital acquisition of media is king. Nobody buys things anymore. They buy the rights to own a thing temporarily. I say as I have, I don't know what direction I'm looking in, as I have physical books behind me, and games down there, and a whole ass hi-fi. Anyway, in the office, moving on. Deathloop was never a physical release, and even if it was, all the disc is a key that tells a server that, hey, this guy owns this game. He can download a copy from our server, which in 15 years might not be there. So my core thought there was, I enjoyed the hell out of Deathloop. It was a lot of fun. It clicked all the right buttons in my head that Dishonored did, in new and interesting ways, because the timeline had moved forward a little bit, and it's almost probably definitely Dishonored's universe, but like 100-ish years down the line, which is complicated by the time loop mechanic, but setting that aside. I won't be able to go back to that game in 15 years and enjoy it again, because outside of pirating a copy right now with the most up-to-date Golden Loop update and putting it on a hard drive with an operating system that will be able to boot on a system in 15 years, there's no guarantee that that game will be there in 2040. And it's kind of a shame, because it is genuinely good. It has a compelling story. The game mechanics reinforce the point that the creators made about it. People still talk about Half-Life 2 like it is a masterpiece that stands on its own, and it largely does. Half-Life has a beginning, it has a middle, and the only thing it's missing is an end, but Mark Laidlaw gave us that end in a sort of tongue-in-cheek way on Twitter like 10 years ago, so if that's all we're ever going to get, that's all we're ever going to get, and I'll take it. I wonder if Steam, and by extension everyone who copied that format after the fact, of having a digital library where you buy permission to own a game, I wonder if they ushered in an era where the experiences that were in some ways formative for a lot of us are no longer able to be preserved without taking extreme measures that some would call dishonest. Like, I still have a physical copy of the Orange Box, in fact. There it is, for Xbox 360, with the old Live logo. This collection has some of the best games that were ever made. And I may have also got a few other games down there. BioShock, but it's a new disc, so it's just the rights to download BioShock. I've got the original Kingdom Hearts. And my memory card from when I was a kid, so if I ever found a PlayStation 2 to put both of those in, I could open my save file from when I was, I think I first played that game in 2003, so, 11? Anyway. Roy Batty was right. All those memories will be lost in tears like rain. And there's not a lot we can do about it aside from some sailing. Because not for nothing, in 15 years, if I want to play Deathloop again, if I get it in my, how old will I be in 15 years? 48. If I get it in my 48-year-old head at that time, that doesn't sound right. I think it is right, though. That I want to play this game that I played in my early 30s. I'm not going to let the who owns the copyright at the time to stop me if it's no longer available in any way, shape, or form. It would be one thing if I was still able to download it from Microsoft or from Steam or from wherever, but there's no guarantee of that. You know, there's no shortage of games that have disappeared, and I applaud anyone who took the trouble to save them, even if they can only save them in incomplete forms, because on top of the digital only, you'll own nothing and like it mentality of the industry today, the prevalence of not these games but other games as live service models denigrate the ability to relive those experiences at a later date. You get games, my friends and I play Hunt Showdown quite a bit, and you know, it's a fun cowboy game where you shoot zombies and sometimes people. And the best thing about it is that all of the firearms are, while semi-fictionalized to not upset any of the holders of trademarks or copyrights or what have you, are all period accurate to about 1895. And it's, I'm no firearms aficionado, but it's fun. And in 5 years, that game might not exist. And all I'll have is, hey guys, remember that time that we played that one game way back in the day? And it's a little sad. As it is, I'm sure there's no shortage of live service games that have already fallen into the ether. I mean, how many old MMOs did people try to save, but as soon as the companies disappeared or went bankrupt or they decided it was time to shut the servers down, did probably hundreds of hours of people's hard work, hundreds individually, probably tens of millions as a group, how much did all of that just disappear? Was it Halo? It was one of the Halos, where like the last dozen or so people who played the game on live stayed in the server and kept it going, I think for an hour or two after the servers had officially shut down. And I applaud that, because some people made their best friends playing Halo, of all things. Who the hell am I to judge? But I can also see it from the business's perspective. Eventually, these live service games need to go because they're not doing the thing that the company wants anymore, and the company wants to make money. When I was a kid, I remember it was really, really special opening a game made by Electronic Arts, because on the inside of every game, up to a point, mind you, they had a little insert in the CD jewel case about, it was a little introduction to who they were. We are Electronic Arts. We are artists and want to share fantastical worlds with you. I'm sure you can find the text of the actual insert somewhere online, but the gist of it was, we want to share this with you. And now, I haven't bought an EA game since 2013 because, amongst other things, I don't like their business practices, but specifically their practices around SimCity 2013. And to summarize a somewhat complicated multi-year issue that I had with them, they put out SimCity 2013. I was hype. It was the last time I was this hype about a game. And the first thing that they said about it after it was released was, oh, no, you can't play this ostensibly single player game offline because we're running a bunch of city micro level simulations on our servers for you, and we're feeding that back to your computer. Which was a lie. It was a blatant, bald-faced lie. And at the time, you had no recourse, because if your computer lost internet, as happened pretty often in my dorm at the time, or if you just didn't want to connect to the Wi-Fi for whatever reason, you could not play this game you spent $60 on. Even though it was a single-player experience, unless you chose to do the multiplayer thing, which was completely optional. And then it comes out, 3, 4, 5 months later, EA got caught in that lie when, allegedly, one of the developers from Maxis put out a patch, which I found and used, which disabled the 2 lines of code that made the game call home every 30 minutes. And from then on, I could play the fucking game that I bought without having to phone home for whatever EA claimed they were doing in the background on my behalf for the game. And it played just fine. So, EA, a company that was once a collection of electronic artists, go figure, lost someone who would have gone to bat for them because they could not be bothered to do the right thing when what they wanted to do was data collection. I would say, as kind of a standard phrase that comes out of my mouth, I don't understand when X. But I do understand. I get that they made a financial decision and they can tell the probably 5 people like myself who were offended enough to never give them another wooden nickel ever again to go kick rocks. But it seems to me like if you annoy enough people, your financial decisions are going to start catching up to you. But what the hell do I know? I'm just a jackass in his living room. So, that was my 2 cents about games. It makes me sad that a lot of the experiences that I have had in the last 10 years were so fragile that all I'm ever going to have of them is the memory of experiencing them. But that's life, I guess.